Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Today we're going to have a go with this Hippie soap concoction. See what happens. What a performance. Better work after all this trouble. Now if you go and try this, unfortunately in the UK this type of soap I could only get at a reasonable price at 32 fluid ounces. Which is 946 millilitres. Why didn't they just make it a litre? Anyway, start me off. This does come in 16 fluid ounce sizes, which probably in the States would be readily available because it's an American product basically. But over here, that was all I could get. The 16 ounce version comes with something else added. Shea butter, which I didn't want, so I had to go for the larger amount, but I managed to find one site which I will put in the description, but I'm not recommending you go there because you might be able to get it cheaper, I don't know. But I got fed up with looking, and there comes a point where for a couple of quid my bother goes and I can't be anymore. Anyway, we've got the Dr. Woods Peppermint Castile soap. Then that's to make everything smell nice and put the bugs off. Apparently that is really offensive to the bugs and they just clear off, they go somewhere else. That's the ones that remain alive or attempt to rejoin your collection. And then we got the Dr. Woods Tea Tree Castile soap. That's the killer, allegedly. We shall see. So those are the two Hippie soaps. And then in addition to that, my hydrogen peroxide is at 3%. So I've reduced the amount I'm going to add, basically. You can either do that or dilute it, but it seems easier to just use a percentage markdown because it's 3%. And then I've got my 70% rubbing alcohol, isopropyl. So those are the ingredients. But probably the most important ingredient is some water and a sprayer to put it in. Now this sprayer holds a litre, so that saves me measuring a litre of water, doesn't it? So just pour liquid into the mark. But what I would recommend you do with when you're mixing up stuff like this is, I don't know how thick this soap is, and I'm using relatively small measures, so I'm not going to fill my sprayer. I'm just going to put some in there. Yeah, I'll top it up to the right amount later. You don't have to do it at the beginning. And if I filled that up to a litre now, by the time I've added all the ingredients, it's going to be a lot more than a litre, isn't it? Which is a strange concept. I've just found a flaw in the recipe. I've got 125, 133, 193. I've got nearly 300 millilitres of ingredients. So should I be adding them to a litre of water, making it 100? You see what I'm getting at? Should I add them to a litre of water? In which case they won't fit in that sprayer. Now when I watched the video of the guy doing it, he said he had 4 quarts of water and then he added the ingredients in. So I think I should start with a litre. So we're gonna need a bigger boat. I'll have to get a bigger container. I'll be back. Okay, we've now got something that holds quite a bit more than a litre. When it's all mixed up and stirred, I can still add it to my container and then top it up, because I'm going to end up with quite a bit more than a litre, which I hadn't thought of, I must admit. But certainly in the video that I watched, the guy in the States from the nursery that recommended this, he added his ingredients to that amount of water, therefore increasing the volume. So that's what I'm going to do. Right, I've got various measuring jugs. Because I need 125 ml, that's what I'll use this one for. Because this goes up in 50 ml at a time, so I can go halfway between 2 lines. And then for the smaller amounts, I've got a little tiny, all these come off of, this comes off of my CalMag, and this comes off of a bug spray of some sort. And a capful of this is 20, so when I get down to 3 mil, the bottom measurement on there is 5, so a bit less than that. That's for the H2O2, so it doesn't matter too much. And for the 31 mil, some clever clogs on here. If you look at that, which is where you would want to use it, isn't it? It's written on the inside, and instead of doing it back to front so that you can read it from the outside, there are, you know, some people in design need shooting. Yeah, so anyway, this is written backwards looking at it from the outside, which was where you'd hold it up, but in there is the correct measurements. I only need to know where I need to go. And this has actually got a 30 mil line, so a fraction over that is 31, isn't it? I really don't think it needs to be that precise, quite honestly. Right, so the guy added the soap first, so we will add the soap first. Now these have got doodahs, so you can squeeze. That way you should get a controlled flow and not get miles too much splooping out all in one go. So where do we need to go to? We need to go to 30 mil, which is there where my thumb is. And let's just hope this don't go all over the place. I wonder how thick it is. Now hang on, we may have a seal in here. We do! Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Something sharp. Yeah, I forgot that that would probably have a seal in there. It's me squeezing away and nothing's happening. So there we go. And then we now have access to the Hippie soap. Right, top back on. And let's see how thick this is when it comes out. I've forgotten where my 30 mil line is now. There. Right. Oh, it's not too thick. It would be quite easy to overdo it. You know what's going to happen now, don't you? I'm going to get to the right measurement, which is, that's absolutely spot on. I'm happy with that. Now what's going to happen is when I pour it out, a lot of it's going to get left in there, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is swill it. Hopefully that's washed a fair bit of it out. I mean, this other guy didn't go to that trouble, but you can see the soap is still coming out. Let's see if we can help it. There we go, that's got most of it out. As I said, I really don't think this has to be that precise. Hippie soap all over my finger now. Well, that's going to be clean, isn't it? Right, then we do the other stuff. So far we haven't got a horrendous pong, which if I was using neem oil I'd have already changed rooms and possibly changed towns, because I really do find the smell of that vile, absolutely vile, which is why I got it once and threw it away. I thought, we're not having that in the house, it's horrible. So that removed that as an option basically. Right, where's my 30 mil mark again? All covered in soap. It is there. So here we go again. This apparently has a nice smell. I'll let you know. A bit more. The fact that this is just to make it smell nice, I would imagine if you didn't like the smell or it was a bit strong, you could always use less, because that's not, it's, the idea of the peppermint is a deterrent. It's not part of the killing process. Oh, we're getting quite a froth up in here. Right, I think we've got most of it out. Right, so that's our soap. That's, quite honestly, that's the awkward bit, because whatever container you use to measure it, it's going to stick to it, and when you pour it out you're not going to get all of it. Now my idea, you see, which is why I only half filled my sprayer, was that I could put some RO water in after I tipped it out and give it a good slosh round and rinse the rest of it into my litre container, and then when I'd finished, topped it to, God, that peppermint's strong, top it up to a litre. But obviously if the ingredients have to go in on top of the litre, I didn't want to mess about adding water and losing my measurements. So that was that. Now we need now the tiniest amount of hydrogen peroxide. Oh, that peppermint's strong. Oh, it's lovely. I mean, I do like the smell of peppermint. Now I need 3 ml, and the bottom line on this, actually I've got a 2.5 there. I presume that is 2.5, isn't it? Well, if that's 5, yes, that's half. That's 2.5. That's close enough. So a high mark on there. So it's just, actually that's a fraction too much. Just above 2.5, which is close enough to 3 for me. Bearing in mind, it's supposed to be 1/3 of 8. So it's not an exact thing anyway, is it? Because 8's the appropriate amount of 1%, so somebody apportioned that to 3 ml of the other. Right, now we need 125 ml of the alcohol. Now I've got 150 on there. I've got 50, 100, 150, halfway between the two. So there, where my thumb is. Double check. I mean, my eyes are good enough to judge halfway between 2 lines. As I said, it doesn't have to be that exact, does it? So that's my alcohol. And that's it. Those are the ingredients. And the first thing to do is put my hydrogen peroxide away. That stays in a dark cupboard, even though it's got a cloudy doodah. I still keep it in the dark cupboard. Light affects it and degrades it. Right, so that's it. That's our mix. Stir well. Although it's going to get a good shake when it gets in the sprayer. The peppermint smell is quite strong, and luckily the tea tree has, well, if it's got a smell, the peppermint's overridden it. I wonder if that's what the peppermint's for, because somebody couldn't stand the smell of the tea tree. So that's our concoction. I feel like I should be cackling. Work that one out for yourself. My witch's brew. Now all we've got to do is see if it flipping works. Which we won't be doing in the kitchen, that's for sure. So I'll cut off there and we'll reconvene in the grow room with some selected plants. And we'll see how we go. I'm going to keep this container with me. I'm going to spray a few plants, in which case, so I will have to put some in my sprayer. But then what's left in the sprayer is going back in here. The reason being, some plants are going to get dunked and get absolutely soaked, so that it gets down in between the leaves. There's a method in my madness. So I'll be back. Okay, we have some sacrificial lambs here. We have this black hair type that I've done my best over a long period of time, and you can see it hasn't worked. Now I'm going to sneeze. I bet that's that peppermint, excuse me. And around the base, so this one has scale and some of these are active, so they're not dead. So black hair types notorious for objecting to sprays, especially systemics. So this is make or break time for this orchid. I'm fed up with it. You know, it's been almost thrown out many times, but it does have a new growth. So if we can get rid of the scale, maybe. And then we've got this one here, which I'm still dubious whether these little white dots are spider mites. I've had a look under the magnifying glass, but it doesn't really blow them up big enough. But why are they there? What are they, if you see what I mean? So that's going to get a spray, more a precautionary one. And that's a Latoria type. They're also not so good with sprays. But this one's losing its leaves on new growths. So there's something wrong with it, yeah? And then we've got 2 Cattleyas here. This one, this has had scale really, really bad. It's actually on the mend. So this is more a precautionary one. There are still some around the base, but not many. So this one I've almost managed to get rid of, but they're down in the leaf joints. So we'll give that one a go. Running out of places to put stuff now. And this is another Cattleya. This one has never really had the scale up on the leaves, but it gets it bad on the base, all round the rhizomes. and in some cases there are active ones there, so that's been the treatment on that. The systemic spray has been unsuccessful, and it is basically unsuccessful there on a Cattleya. Yeah, it just doesn't work because they're not up on the leaves. There are traces of dead ones up on the leaves, so the spray probably did work on them. It's supposed to be a contact killer, that's systemic. It just doesn't seem to work. It's just not quite strong enough, if you see what I mean. And what we could have is resistance, because I've been using the same one for some time. And then in addition to those, we're going to have some sacrificial lambs from up here. Nearly all of these, except for the larger ones on the end and this one, all of these have got scale, not that one's clean. All of these have got scale to one degree or another. They've been treated. Every time I see the base of a pseudo-bulb with scale on it, they get a spray. But I've got no guarantee it's working, and some of these may be dunked in the saucepan so that they just get absolutely soaked right down in between the leaves, between the pseudo-bulbs, round the base, underneath the base, get the lot. And this one, although this is a black hair type, this is going to get the same treatment. It's nearly knocked that one over. This is going in the saucepan because all the scale on this one around the base. And I want to try and get them off once and for all and give that new growth a chance. The first new growth there actually aborted. So the actual main growth here seems okay. Yeah? And the latest growth, well, I can see one or two starting up the stem. So that's what we're going to do. And I shall have to put the camera on the tripod, and I need to get a move on because it's going to be a sunny day and the sun is coming round, so I need the kit back on. So we'll have a go at spraying a few. I mean, watching somebody spray plants is like watching paint dry, really, but to make it a complete video we will do some spraying, and I'm quite happy for it to go all over the floor. You know, at the end of the day, it's a bug treatment. If it goes on the floor, it's not going to hurt anything, because I can't be bothered to take all the stuff outside. So we'll do it in here. Right, I'll be back. Okay, you should be able to see. So this is about half full. Should be enough to do these pots. The ones in the pots are on the floor, ready to go. Doesn't matter if they get sprayed twice. Right, have we got a spray? Yes. I've moved my Vander bucket out of the way with its lid on, so we don't get all the soap in there. And then it's just a matter of, what I usually do is start underneath. So, absolutely drown the blinking things, like that. Then we come round to look at the top view. Give the top view a good go. And then the base. So that's that one done. Next. It does smell nice. Give it that. I reckon that peppermint's just been added to make it smell nice. But it did say in the video that your grow room will smell absolutely fantastic by the time you've finished. Make sure you don't miss any stems, top of the pot, rhizomes, every bit. The other thing you should end up with is shiny leaves, allegedly. We're getting a nice bit of froth on the floor, and now this one. I don't know whether this is going to survive. This has had so many treatments over its poor little life, all unsuccessful. It's got very few roots, very few, and we'll see what that does. It will probably kill it. Right. So that's everything in a pot that's going to get done, and now I'll have to rearrange the tripod and everything. I'm going to do a couple of oncidiums, a couple of tolumnias, and that black hair type in the saucepan. But to do that, I need what's in the sprayer back in the saucepan to get the depth, and I've got a feeling it's not going to be deep enough. So this may not be a good idea. It may not work. We'll see. I don't think I'm going to have enough in there. It's too shallow, so we might have to do the pouring it over treatment, then that's just as well be a spray, isn't it, really? We'll see. It's not deep enough, I know it's not already. So we will revert to spraying again. So we'll put some more back in the sprayer and just carry on with the plants I had in mind, but using the sprayer. And if it doesn't work, then I can always mix up a larger quantity and revert to the sprayer and give them another treatment. This apparently is harmless, so you can treat your plants as often as you like. You know, that's. But if it works, you shouldn't need to. That's what I always say with the systemics. You know, repeat in 14 days. Well, okay, that could be for eggs hatching out because it doesn't do the eggs, maybe. But once you've done the treatments, what it says on the tin, you shouldn't need to do it again, should you? Unless you get new bugs migrating in from outside your grow space. Which, you know, I mean, there's certain bugs in certain environments, certain countries, where they arrive by the flipping coachload. They really do. Right. So where was I? Right, we got this black hair type. Please don't die, I like you. I like you a lot. But they're round the base on that one. Right, what else then? Some Oncidium types. These are twinkles, and they've had scale for ages, and I just can't shift it. They get right down in the leaf joints, which are getting absolutely drowned, and around the base. So that's another one. Don't go mad. And we'll do this one. This one came from Jeff's. Don't forget, if you do have a go at this, it's a contact killer. It has no systemic properties whatsoever. So what you don't coat up, don't die. Remember that. That's important. Right, and there's a couple of my older Tolumnias up here that are getting signs. Now, signs on a Tolumnia, see, on a new growth, green. That growth is dying back anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But the way they show up the scale on Tolumnias is right at the base of the leaves, like there, they start going yellow. Sorry, I'm not on camera. Yeah, I forgot I was pointing at the floor. Yeah, so at the base of the leaves, they start to go yellow. Sometimes spotty yellow first, if there's only a few. And as soon as you see that, they're down in there. They're right down in there, which most sprays can't even get into. But we shall see. Sorry about this. I should have done that on the floor, shouldn't I? So, again, a good soak. And then from above, to make sure it runs down those leaf creases. And also does the base. And then I've got another one up here that I definitely saw some signs on. These are my older ones that nearly failed, so these are sort of recovering anyway. There's a classic one. Yellow leaf down to the base. Now that's on a, and there, look, you see that pale colouring down there? I'll bet they're in there, but that's so tight, I can't open it. Yep, they're in there. Just about run my nail down through. So this is the only hope for this Tolumnia, and this little growth, and this little growth. This is dying, that won't make it. And this isn't too clever. Yeah, that was a separate piece. So this has hope, but not if it's going to keep getting scale, because they will take its strength. And once that happens on a weak plant, you lose it. And I have lost quite a few in the past. Right, that's those done. Is there anything else that's desperate that I've been keeping my eye on? Those Oncidiums are all okay. And I've still got quite a bit left over. It seems a shame to waste it, doesn't it? Perhaps I'll go and tip it in the bath and have a long soak in the bath and stink of peppermint for the rest of the day. I'm going to do, I'm not going, actually I am, I'm going to do this one. This is my apple blossom. And whereas this seemed to be okay, it now isn't okay. There's a lot of scale on the base of these pseudo bulbs, a lot. So this one has got scale recently. It's also got a nice new growth there, which I didn't know about. So that is the second new growth, the one I talked about. This is the good one, growing on strong, and I said there ought to be two. And there it is, and it's on a rhizome that's absolutely smothered in scale. They're in, where's my camera? They're in there. Yeah, that's where they love to get. So this one is quite bad. So we'll give this one a go. We'll pump the sprayer up. And then this will be the last one. I don't think there's anything else that's desperate. And as I said, I want to see it work, but you know, whatever you do with any treatments, don't do your whole collection in case it doesn't work and it's harmful. And having never tried this before or anything remotely like it, I'm not going mad. And it says it should be okay. It does say that if you think your plants are really ultra sensitive, that you ought to leave it to soak for a while, and then if you think it necessary, rinse your plant. In other words, rinse all this soap off with clean water, which I may choose to do in a minute. But it's the base of the rhizomes where they get on the cattleyas, and in those leaf joints. You don't very often see them actually out in the open on the cattleyas. They hide. Right, that will do. So there we go. Hippie soap, treatment number 1. We will await results. The problem with scale, the crawlers and the adults, is unless you remove them, it's difficult to tell whether they're dead and your treatment's worked. The only way really, if you don't remove the bodies, which is fiddly and sometimes impossible depending on where they are. If you don't remove the bodies, the only way you can tell whether your treatment's worked or not is to either do a very, very close-up photo and then go back a week later and do that photo again and see if it's changed. Because if they're dead, it hasn't changed, has it? If new ones have hatched out or anything like that, then it will have changed. So, you know, deal with it accordingly. It smells absolutely wonderful out here. Yippee. So there we go. Hippie soap. And if it works, yippee soap. Do a little happy dance. Can I do a hippie happy dance? Now we are getting silly. See you next time. Bye for now.